Have you ever noticed that every crypto cycle creates thousands of new projects, yet only a handful manage to survive? Many cryptocurrencies explode during bull markets, disappear during bear markets, and are eventually forgotten. But every once in a while, you come across a project that quietly keeps building regardless of market conditions. One of those projects is Stellar, better known by its native cryptocurrency, XLM. While XLM doesn't always dominate the headlines like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or XRP, it continues to attract banks, fintech companies, payment providers, asset managers, and developers seeking practical blockchain solutions. So the question isn't necessarily whether XLM will become the largest cryptocurrency. The real question is this: why has Stellar survived for more than a decade, and why do many believe it will continue to play an important role in the future of digital finance? Let's break it down. Stellar was launched in 2014 by Jed McCaleb, who also co-founded Ripple before creating Stellar with a different mission. Rather than focusing primarily on large financial institutions, Stellar was designed to make moving money around the world faster, cheaper, and more accessible for everyone. Its mission has remained remarkably consistent: connect traditional financial systems with blockchain technology while making cross-border payments and digital assets more efficient. That focus hasn't changed in over 10 years, and consistency is something many blockchain projects don't have. One of the biggest reasons many analysts believe Stellar has long-term staying power is that it solves real problems instead of chasing hype. Sending money internationally is still surprisingly expensive. Traditional wire transfers can take days to settle, often involve multiple intermediaries, and come with significant fees. Stellar was built to solve exactly that problem. Transactions typically settle in just a few seconds and cost only fractions of a penny. For individuals sending remittances or businesses moving money across borders, those advantages become meaningful at scale. But payments are only part of the story. One of Stellar's biggest opportunities today is asset tokenization. As we've seen recently, tokenization is becoming one of the fastest growing sectors in finance. Banks, investment firms, and asset managers are beginning to move real-world assets like stocks, treasury securities, money market funds, and even real estate onto blockchain networks. Stellar has quietly positioned itself as one of the leading public blockchains for that future. Tokenized funds from firms like Franklin Templeton and tokenized US Treasury products have already launched on the Stellar network, demonstrating that institutions are willing to use its infrastructure for real financial products. That matters, because institutions don't choose blockchain networks randomly. Large financial firms care about reliability, security, compliance, predictable transaction costs, and long-term stability. Stellar has spent years building that reputation instead of focusing on hype cycles. It's one thing to have fast technology, but it's another thing entirely to convince major financial institutions to trust that technology with real assets. Another reason XLM could survive long-term is its growing ecosystem of real-world partnerships. One of the best-known examples is MoneyGram. Through Stellar, users in many countries can convert between digital assets and physical cash using MoneyGram's global network. This helps bridge one of crypto's biggest challenges by connecting blockchain directly to traditional finance. Stellar also supports native USDC, allowing businesses and individuals to move regulated US dollar stablecoins quickly, securely, and at extremely low cost. Another topic that's often discussed is ISO 20022. You'll frequently hear people say that XLM is ISO 20022 compliant, but it's important to understand what that actually means. ISO 20022 is not a cryptocurrency certification. It's a global financial messaging standard that banks and payment systems are adopting to exchange financial information more efficiently. Stellar's architecture aligns well with this evolving financial infrastructure, making it easier for institutions to integrate payment solutions built on the Stellar network. While ISO 20022 doesn't automatically increase XLM's value, it does position Stellar well as banks modernize their payment systems. Another strength of Stellar is its focus on compliance. Many early blockchain projects were built around avoiding regulation entirely. Stellar took a different approach. The network includes standards that help developers build applications capable of meeting identity, compliance, and regulatory requirements. As institutional adoption continues to grow, that approach becomes increasingly valuable because large financial institutions simply cannot ignore regulatory obligations. Of course, no investment is without risks. One of Stellar's biggest challenges is competition. Ripple continues pursuing institutional payment solutions. Ethereum dominates decentralized finance and tokenization. Solana has become a leader in speed and developer activity. New blockchain networks continue entering the market every year with innovative technologies. Stellar must continue proving why businesses and institutions should build on its network instead of choosing another blockchain. Another challenge is adoption itself. Having excellent technology doesn't automatically create demand. Ultimately, Stellar's long-term success depends on businesses, developers, financial institutions, and governments continuing to build applications that generate real transaction volume. Utility matters far more than marketing over the long run. There's also a question many investors ask. If Stellar is so useful, why hasn't XLM's price reflected that utility? That's actually a fair question. Blockchain networks can experience tremendous growth in usage while their native tokens don't immediately capture all of that value. Price depends on investor sentiment, market cycles, token economics, regulation, and overall liquidity across the crypto market. It's important to separate the long-term success of the Stellar network from the short-term price movements of XLM. Now let's talk about why many investors remain optimistic. The financial industry is moving toward tokenized assets. Major firms like BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, JP Morgan, and the DTCC are actively building tokenization infrastructure. If tokenization grows into a multi-trillion-dollar market over the next decade, public blockchains capable of supporting compliant, efficient, and low-cost digital assets could become increasingly important. Stellar has already established itself as one of the networks competing for that opportunity. So, will XLM survive long-term? While nobody can predict the future with certainty, Stellar possesses many characteristics shared by successful infrastructure projects. It has survived multiple crypto market cycles. It has maintained a consistent mission for more than a decade. It focuses on solving real-world financial problems instead of following trends. It continues attracting institutional partners, supports regulated stablecoins, and has become an increasingly important platform for tokenized assets. None of that guarantees investment returns, and it certainly doesn't guarantee that XLM will outperform every other cryptocurrency. But survival in this industry isn't determined by who generates the loudest headlines. It's determined by who continues delivering value year after year. As blockchain technology becomes increasingly integrated into traditional finance, the long-term winners are likely to be networks that solve real problems, attract real users, and become part of the infrastructure powering the next generation of global financial markets. Whether Stellar ultimately becomes one of those dominant networks remains to be seen, but after more than a decade of development, growing institutional adoption, expanding tokenization activity, and a continued focus on cross-border payments and financial inclusion, it's difficult to ignore the foundation the project has already built. If you enjoyed this video and want more educational content covering cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, tokenization, investing, and the future of finance, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.